Welcome to the SoulFull Sessions live on Sundays. I'm just going to wait a couple of minutes for more people to come in. If you're joining us, I would say that you might want to grab your journal and a pen today, or colorful pencils, whatever you like. But I would grab something. Hi, Gail. Welcome. Aw, it's beautiful. There's a few more joining us now. So I was saying I would grab a journal or something to write with. We're going to do a few little exercises today to get us set for the unified season. So we're kind of shifting from that surviving in this season to the thriving in this season, which is the absolute goal. So with no further ado, welcome to the SoulFull Sessions Live. My name is Jennifer Mackey. And I've had the privilege for about the last 20 years, for those of you that don't know me, to work with teams, healthcare, educators, entrepreneurs. And really, my focus is on inner leadership, leading from the inside out, and that conscious connection that we can make in all aspects of our lives. Welcome, everybody. Oh, I see the Mom Unfiltered. Oh, I just love our connection on Substack, girl. Thanks for the hearts. I see them rising up. I love that. I was saying at the beginning that when I first click, like, jump on board, it says connecting, connecting, connecting. And I kind of feel that little zing between all of our hearts as we're popping online and connecting. So welcome. Oh, Steve-O, the bathrobe guy. Welcome, honey. Good to have you here. It's wonderful to blend these worlds. So some of the folks on here are people that I know from, everyday life. Hello, everyone. Peace and meta. Thank you, love. Just wonderful to be able to blend the worlds of where I live in White Rock, BC. So some of the folks that I actually engage in community. Oh, I love the outpouring of those hearts. And then those that I've really felt a soulful connection on Substack with. And the reason why I'm doing this Substack Live is because from the creative space, it's just, I find on social media, although I do share this on social media and I'm so grateful for all the connects there, we do find that in this Substack community that there's really that soulful connection. Wisdom Root, another one joining us today. Welcome. So my name is Jennifer Mackey, and you are with us on the SoulFull Sessions Live on Sunday. So we do this every Sunday at 10:30 Pacific. Thrilled to have you here as often as you can come, just feeling that energy. So I've had the privilege throughout the last 20 years to work with different types of teams, healthcare, educators, entrepreneurs. And I work as a coach, a speaker. I'm most recently the author of Just One Soulful Thing, which is where kind of some of this stems from. My focus is on inner leadership and values action alignment, and we're going to talk lots about that today. Those of you that are joining us, please feel free to grab a journal or a piece of paper and a pen, because we're going to be doing a little introspective work today, because we're doing that shift from surviving this season to thriving in it. So we've been talking about something called Soul Vibe. And so this has been the theme for the last number of weeks. And Soul Vibe is just my fun little acronym for keeping kind of in the know about the rooted, the foundation of what soul is all about, and then the energy or the vibe around what it means to be soulful. And how do we incorporate that, not just as individuals in our lives, but also in every aspect of what we do and how we serve. And so in our businesses, how we parent, how we engage in relationship. So this soul vibe is, we've worked through S for stillness, O for openness, and today we did L for listening, and today is about Unify. And what that means is, in my work, I really focus on that values action alignment with all aspects of ourselves. So in Just One Soulful Thing, the book, I know there's a number of you on here that have read it. If you haven't read it, there's a much deeper dive into this in the book. But it's about I call it the 5 facets and faces of we. So we have all different aspects of ourselves. And so for this type of work, we're focusing on body, brain, soul, spirit, and heart. And I'll explain in a moment what those mean. And so the newsletter on Tuesday that goes out kind of sets the tone for the theme of our week. And I put out, a longer newsletter that really talks about these aspects in a bit more depth. And then when we meet on Sundays, we kind of dive in a little bit deeper. And then if you want deeper work, then, the book is for you. So Unify is about bringing together all those aspects of ourselves and really consciously, soulfully considering each one of those elements, because particularly at this time of season, it can get a little hairy, right? Sometimes there's a lot of joy and there's a lot of cheer, and it brings out the kid in all of us. But there's that other aspect, whether it's traditions that we feel we have to bring forward that are kind of just rote. We kind of work, kind of year to year, we do the same things. We don't really consciously consider what kind of perhaps stress that brings into our life or expectations that we hold for ourselves, that others hold for us. And so at every aspect and every turn in our lives, we just want to live consciously. That's really the whole focus of the Soulful Way, which is the newsletter, and then the SoulFull Sessions. And every aspect on Facebook, it's you can join the Soulful Hub. That's a community of people where we just kind of inspirational tidbits. So there's lots of way to tap into that. And I talk lots about the fact that this is not a one-time thing. So even in my coaching work, I can coach with people for years, different hours that are spent in the process, but I can work with people for years because this is something that's constantly evolving in our lives based on where we're at, what stage of life we're at. So, those of you that are just joining us, hi, Luna, welcome. Welcome to the Soulful Sessions. I would ask or invite you to grab a journal and a pen because we're going to be doing a little introspective work today to be able to just draw ourselves into kind of more conscious work today. So, we're talking about unifying those 5 aspects, those 5 faces and facets of we all, and we're diving into each one. And so, what I would love you to do right now with your journal, with your pen. And I love that, today I'm actually joining you from my living room. Christmas tree is right beside me, but I thought I'd actually wanted to just bring you into my home because I'm feeling more week to week that this is just like us sitting around the fire and just having a chat about things that are important to us. And of course, I welcome all your questions. I welcome your comments in the comments. I love that. One of the toughest aspects for me of going online is that I don't get to be with you in the room. I don't get to see your face. I can't read you. So comments, thoughts, either during the session or after, I just so appreciate because it's really about building community. And I love to give you the little tidbits, but it's really about getting to know one another and then connecting in the chat or wherever that happens for us. So I would invite you, and I'm gonna walk you through the process of just setting your things aside and just coming into a state of calm and just either resting your eyes softly in place or closing your eyes for a moment and just taking some beautiful, calming Sunday morning round the fire breaths out through your mouth. Just coming into this beautiful, centered state of pause. We've got nowhere else to be right now, nothing else to do. Just joining together in that energy of stillness. And then I'd like you to think about in your mind, what are your core values? A few of them. And remembering that when we get into this still, calm space, that whatever pops to the surface of our mind, go with that. So, what are your core values that are really things that really define who you are and how you want to be in this world? What matters to you? Whether that's peace, connection, creativity, integrity, authenticity, whatever that is that bubbles to the surface. And there are hundreds and thousands of words that could come to mind. Either write them in your journal, feel free to put them in the comments, but it's more for you to just take a moment to think about what you truly value in this moment at this stage of your life. And then write that down. I always say that the work begins after the session. So don't feel any pressure with this. It's just to bring to our mind the things that are truly important to us, not just at this time of year, but always. And so when we talk about these 5 facets of we want to bring that feeling of those really core precious values that we hold to top of mind. So as we move through each one of these aspects of who we are, bringing those parts together, that we are viewing that through the lens of our values. Okay. So the first one is considering our bodies. And these are all things that we know, but it is so important every once in a while that we pause and we reflect and we remember. So when we think about our bodies and the miracle of our bodies, which sometimes we take for granted. So these different aspects of who we are. So the food that we eat that fuels our body, the hydration, the water that we drink, because we're made up of so much water. The water that we drink, the sleep that we get, the honoring of our muscles, the honoring of our bones. So, how we fuel, honor, embrace, and consider our physical bodies, which are our temples that carry our hearts and our minds and our souls around. Hi, Logan. Welcome, 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 new people that are joining us. I'm thrilled to have you here. So, right now, we're going through this soulful centered time of journaling, thinking about our top values, our key or core values. And now we're moving through the 5 facets of we. So, we've started off with our bodies. And we really can take advantage of our bodies. And we don't think about it, but if we think about the miracle of our autonomic nervous system and the fact that we don't have to think consciously to breathe, to take the next breath, that the moment at which we touch something that's hot, our brains know to pull our hand away. There are so many systems and intricacies, how our heart beats, how our brain works. We're going to talk about that one in a moment, but how our bodies integrate all the different aspects of our physical temple. And then we get to move our arms or our legs, or, we get to stretch. So considering all these aspects of the body. So the next one is your brain. And it's interesting. We don't think about our brains very much. They just work, they deliver, they hold our memories of beautiful moments that we've shared with loved ones. They hold the traumas that have happened to us. Our amygdala and our hippocampus hold those memories that we oftentimes need to work through. Those triggers that happen, we see something physical in the world, and that triggers a response because of something that's happened to us. How our minds hold those memories, how our brains work to think quickly on the spot, or deepening our ability to remember a list to go to the grocery store. There are all these aspects of our brain that we don't really think about day to day, moment to moment. But for those of you that know me, you know that I had a stroke a number of years ago in 2018. And actually, a year before that, about a year and a half before that, I fell on a dance floor, and I had a brain injury, and I had a head injury for about 6 months. And you don't think about your brain until something happens to it. And so what happened, particularly with the brain injury from the fall that I had, was I couldn't remember. I'm very visual. And so when I'm going places, I hike a lot. When I'm driving, I've lived in many different cities, many different countries. I kind of hold those maps in my mind. And when I had this head injury, I could not visualize. And it was wild to think that one day I had this ability, and the next day, I didn't. And so I literally, when I was actually doing a workshop, this is about 4 months after it had happened, and I was doing a workshop, and I was driving, and it was in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I'd lived there for 3.5 years. I hadn't been there in a number of years, but I'd lived there for 3.5 years. And I had to have my friend who was doing this workshop with me write out on a piece of paper where I was going at each turn. And so I would stop at a stop sign, and I would have to look at the piece of paper to know where to make my next turn. And then I would have to pull over, look at the piece of paper to know where I was going next. So we can take for granted the fact that those faculties are at our nervous system, our fingertips, are at the top of mind, literally, and they happen so naturally. But I want you to just take a moment and think about how you can love your brain better. So we're going to talk more about this, but our brain is how we learn, how we expand our learning. how we make those connections between the memories and memory, and the memories and carrying those thoughts forward with us, our habits, and this idea that we can shift our habits. We have habits in our brain, and what happens, many of you, I'm sure, have studied this, but neurons, those neural pathways in our minds, we create grooves. So the habits that we have and the things that we do day to day, moment to moment, the way we've always done them, especially old dog, new tricks, we have those neurons that have fired together for so long that it creates grooves in our brain. And so we can think that, oh, that's just the way that I am. But we really can shift the neuroplasticity in our minds. We can work on that. We can shift our habits. And so thinking about that element of things. Also, the impact of stress, not only, falling and being careful with that. My husband used to tease me about wanting to get me a pink helmet that I would wear everywhere. Thank you for that, Todd. I wasn't going to do that. I just became more mindful of my steps, more careful of how I did things, not heading in kind of headstrong. But also how the stress of this season actually affects our brains, right? And how that's intertwined with our bodies, and the fact that if we don't get enough sleep, then the stress is heightened. Or if we feel pressure to be able to deliver the season in whatever way, whether that is financial strain, where sometimes there can be a focus on the presents that we buy one another, getting a person the perfect gift, shifting that to be about presence with the CE. And so taking the stress away from that. So thinking about how stress on the brain affects us. Okay. The next one is our spirit. And so the spirit is that happy little childlike element of us that saw Christmas like it was all magical. And maybe you don't celebrate Christmas, but whatever way you celebrate this season, this time of year has a special energy to it. So the way that we used to see Christmas lights, so it was less about the shopping and the stress. When we were children, it was just about, whatever your belief system, it was about the magical twinkly lights or family gathering time. Or if you celebrate Christmas, the Christmas tree or even Santa Claus, and the magic and the mystery around that. And so it's getting back to that childlike joy. So not just in this season, but always. So it is that element of us that is still so alive and well, that is curious, that moving through nature, we are in awe, that we believe that we can do anything that we set our mind to. We want to recognize that part of ourselves that's still alive. Okay, the next one is soul. So, soul is that ancient element, that timelessness of us, that wild wisdom within us, that knowing, that calm, sweet, loving whisper that happens at the core of our being, and honoring that will be here depending on your belief system. But what I believe is that soul lingers on and on and on. And whether you believe that it comes back or it lingers beyond the veil, but that element of us that was with us when we arrived on this planet, in this temple with this brain, through childhood and beyond, and also the fact that this soul stays with us after we move on. And so there is a wisdom within that. And when I talk in workshops about, that intuition, that knowing, that inkling, that whisper, I've talked to thousands and thousands in various talks and workshops over the course of my career. And I will say, that little whisper inside you that knows, whether you should buy that gift and extend beyond your budget or not, whether you should eat that extra cookie because you're going to not feel so great tomorrow, or having that extra beverage, like whatever that is, that voice inside of us. I see a few just told, yes, absolutely. That voice inside of us is always whispering to us. And so it's acknowledging and making space for that soulful whisper and being in tune with that, and our practices, which we're going to talk about in a moment, are practices that allow us to listen to that more and more in the in-between moments. So creating space to be able to fine tune that listening that we talked about last week, and then also being able to tap that in the in-between moments so that we can tap it more readily. The last one is heart. So the heart is how we engage and connect, at least in my definition. There's many different definitions for these things, but in the soulful way, this is how I define them. So the heart is about that community connection, or even like connection with our friends, connection with our loved ones, connection in community, how we compassionately view the world. For a number of years, I ran with the boys called the Mad Hero Project, and I talked about it in lots of talks, a lot of convocation speeches on the modern day hero, which is that compassionate thinker, that vigilant observer, being able to see what's around us and not turn a blind eye, that compassionate thinker, and then being a conscious co-creator to be able to make a difference in our world. So that heart is about being that modern day hero. Okay. So now we understand kind of where we're coming from in each one of those areas. And now we're going to talk about the pitfalls. We're going to talk about the pitfalls and practices that allow us to shift from surviving this season and sometimes in life and to thriving in various aspects of our life. And so when we look at each one of these areas, and again, I'm going to have you tap into your journal and your pen if you're just joining us, or you're, listening to this recording. Make sure you grab your journal, pen, paper. Just when we create that connection between what we think about and then we do that writing aspect, that moves and shifts it a little bit from our short-term memory to our longer-term memory and helps us to integrate these practices. So we're going to go through each one of these, and you're going to have a little introspective time as well too today. So the body, how do we kind of deal with some of the pitfalls and put in place practices that allow us to head this off? So our bodies, sometimes in this season of joy and indulgence, we can overindulge, and our bodies are usually the ones that take the hit. So our bodies, I don't know about you, but a lot of our family traditions growing up, it was all around food. So it was the turkey dinner, it was the Christmas cookies my mother would make. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. And that's how we communed as a family. That's how we connected. We connected through food. And for some people that have learned that balance, and treats are beautiful, but oftentimes people feel the pressure to eat a lot more, or they eat a lot more unconsciously because it's just, oh, it's a part of the season. It's okay. I'll bounce back. But as we get older, it gets a little tougher to bounce back. And I really do think that we can have it all. We can have it all. We can have the treats, and we can have the feeling on January 1st that we still feel light and our bodies still feel healthy, and we don't have to take a vacation from our vacation or a holiday from our holidays. I think we can have it all. And so this is about consciously thinking about what we do so that we can have it all. So, a couple little tips and tricks I use. First of all, we want to shift in all aspects of this from reacting to responding. So, we want to move from reactive to proactive, and that takes planning. And that doesn't matter whether that's your business, whether that's how you parent, that's how you are in your partnership, or that's how you are facing the holiday season. So, we want to shift from reacting and just like the rote eating where we just sit and we're talking to people and we've had, like, before we know it, we've had 10 cookies instead of one. And it's not just the cookies, it's the alcohol, right? So a lot of times over the holidays, we overindulge. And this is really, I've studied nutrition for a lot of years. I actually am plant-based, whole grain diet for the most part, except for little treats, taking that break. But I've studied nutrition almost my entire life. And our bodies really take a hit when we overindulge and we binge. Whether we binge eat or we binge drink, our bodies really take a hit. And as we get older and older, we don't even sometimes recognize, if we haven't studied this, the repercussions on many levels, to the brain fog that we have, to how we can wake up in the morning, to the energy that we have to even want to go for a walk. So we really need to be careful at this time of year to be conscious of what we're doing. So a few little ways that we can deal with that. I create a little plan. So our fridge is where, like, beautiful pictures go and inspirational tidbits, and then like reminders. And so reminders about how much water to drink. And just becoming conscious of that, because we all forget. So how much water do we drink? Because our bodies need to be hydrated to be able to flush out those little treats that we have. So that hydration, and maybe making a little list for you on the fridge that has, drink it 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 at night, 2 before I go to bed, right? So the water that we drink and how we hydrate before we go to bed and wake up in the morning, actually, there's lots of science done on that actually can decrease your chances of having a heart attack. So hydrating ourselves really well. And when it comes to food, having a little conscious plan in your mind about how you're going to deal with that. So, hi, welcome new people joining. So, putting some parameters around how we eat, how we treat our bodies. And so that is maybe you're heading out to a dinner. And I do this a lot because I eat plant based for the most part. But even when if I'm talking and I'm having a glass of wine, I can have another glass of wine and another glass of wine, especially if we're having a party. So I consciously head in going, I'm having one. And then I'm going to switch to sparkly water or I'm going to switch to tea. And so I make sure I have those things available or I'm thinking about them as I'm heading into the meal. When we go out for dinner with people, Todd and I will often look at the menu before we go to the restaurant and we pre-order, in our minds. We don't call in. We're not that we're not that intense. But we oftentimes pre-order because then we go, when you're sitting down, especially if you've had a drink before your meal, oftentimes you'll have a drink and then you go, oh, never mind. I'll just get the nachos. Oh, I totally feel like a burger. So in that moment, we will make choices on the fly unconsciously. And I swear there's that little reptilian part of our brains that it just loves that. It's like, oh, it's the open door to just indulge. It's kind of like that that little devil on your shoulder versus the angel, right? The little healthy one and the one that just wants to just have whatever she or he wants or they want, right? So, that pre-ordering, that pre-planning, that proactive consideration. When I sit down with my family, I'm going to have one piece of pie or I'm going to have 2 cookies. And then I'm going to switch to having a cup of tea or whatever that is. So that conscious pre-planning. The other part of it is making sure that we get enough sleep. And that's oftentimes really hard during the holiday season, but really hard and fast. I'm going to come home by 11. I'm going to be in bed by 11. I'm going to shut off my phone an hour before bed because I know that I want to enjoy this season. And if I'm constantly burned out or I'm on my phone until 12 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm not going to enjoy my days as much. But we oftentimes, because we have so many habits that are ingrained in us, we have to think about it consciously. So really important to just take that time to say, what is it that's important to me for my body? And then how do I work that in? So the other thing is wanders. So thinking about, and I talk about it as wandering, but going for walks, going for hikes, creating adventures, turning some of our holiday time into the physical activity. So going for a walk and seeing the lights instead of taking the car. Wandering, bonding with your family, bonding with your friends. Maybe you would never have done this before, but you would, say, everybody grab a to-go cup of tea or coffee and let's just go for a wander and let's go look at the Christmas lights so that you're working in your physical body, moving throughout the holiday season. Hey guys, after dinner, why don't we all go for a walk? Yeah. Your family members might not thank me because they may just wanting to be heading for the couch, right? But I promise you, wanders can be like that beautiful thing. And I'm sure many of you do this, but working these habits into the holiday joy. Okay. So what I'd love you to do now is to take your journal, to piece of paper, or just hold it in your mind. But that connection between mind and writing can work some magic. But I would like you to just take a few moments to just take some deep breaths, right? In through your nose, out through your mouth. You can see the light in my eyes when I tilt my head back. Taking that breath and just breathing out. And then just bringing your body into mind, how well it serves you. And just asking yourself, because we're our own best guru, what is just one soulful habit, one soulful thing, one soulful shift I could make to honor my body this season? And think of that or write that down. There's a lot of these questions in the Soulful Way newsletter too from Tuesday. If you want to tap that on Substack for free as well too. So helps you to go through these later on when you have a bit more time. But whatever bubbles to the surface, we know what we need. Our bodies know what they need. Okay. Now moving on to our brains. So, brains is creating those new habits. Neurons that fire together, wire together. But we have to create a habit. And it starts, I talk about this lots in the book, Just One Soulful Thing. It starts with us just doing just one soulful thing at a time, not getting overwhelmed, but saying there's one thing. So, our brains, we want to create these new habits. And so, our brain, as we talked about a little while ago, so what is that? That's about learning new things. It's about expanding what we're learning, creating new habits, listening to something inspirational, making sure that what we're feeding our minds, because, we get out what we put in, just like gas in a car. Whatever we're putting in is of health, is of love, is of joy, so that we can counter a bit of the crazy in the world. Because a lot of us are plugged in on our phones or otherwise. We are plugged in to the chaos of the world, and there's lots of it at this season and always. And we have to be able to find and create new habits that allow us to find the balance between taking on and being observant of what's in the world, and then also being very clear about what inspiration, what cleanliness, what soulfulness, what love we counter that with and have more of it that we put into our minds. And so, and to be able to create habits of less stress. So, we talked about the bliss bubble the last time. I was handing out the gift. You can read about it in subsequent newsletters, and it's in the book. I write about it in detail. But it's basically about taking that iridescent bubble and just stretching it up over our heads all the way down to our tippy toes. And it sounds like a crazy exercise for those who don't normally engage in these things. But I'll tell you, when you have that visual of the fact that you are surrounded by a bliss bubble, and whatever serves you can permeate and come right to the heart and soul of you, and whatever doesn't bounces right off. I can tell you, I have given that gift and shared that in so many workshops in corporate settings, to nonprofits, to individuals and entrepreneurs, and people pumping gas at Costco. And it really is a powerful process for, covering your brain. Oh, you do this daily. Oh, I love that, Luna. Thank you for sharing that. It's unbelievable. And you just, and it's particularly, like, it's not just your brain, but your whole body, your whole being, just in that bliss bubble. And honestly, when you live in that place, right? We talk about the ripples, the reverberation of our energy is about 10 meters in a circumference around us. We affect other people. So when we live in that space, when we protect our brains, when we come from that space, then we can actually share that with others and we can change the energy in the world around us. So, when it comes to our brains, what are the other things that we need? So, we need to be able to plan ahead for peace. So, have those little tips and tricks, even if it's when we feel the overwhelm in a room, if the bliss bubble is feeling like it's, being bombarded. Sometimes, and I talked about this as well too in a past SoulFull session, head to the loo, head to the washroom. It's a place where it's always quiet. Maybe there's another lovelier room that you would like to be in. But honestly, the washroom, if you got to do it, that's the place. So when you're getting in these holiday settings and the noise is a lot and the energy is a lot and you can't step out and you feel like you want to say something that maybe is not responsive, maybe it is reactive, do yourself a favor, remove yourself for a little bit. Okay. So it's really important. We want to feel proud of ourselves. When we look in the mirror every single day, we want to just feel good about how we've handled ourselves in situations of all kinds, how our brains are reacting and what our mouths are saying and our facial expressions. We want to feel proud about this. And so we have to live consciously. So the other part of our brain is that expansion piece, or what we're putting in. I weave time in, and we talk about it as a family, and I'll talk about it a bit more in a moment. But we actually plan for what we do. So I will, as a mom, work out that we're going to play some inspirational games. Or I'm going to share with the boys, we're going to read. We actually read Just One Soulful Thing together. We read other inspirational books as well, too. But I love that my family's engaged in something that I've poured my soul into. And so we read together as a family. Our boys are almost 18, just in January, and the other one is 19. And we read together as a family. We read Lord of the Rings. We read inspirational books. We read Christmas stories. And we have had this habit for a long time, but it really does counter. And our boys love video games. And, we love watching little funny YouTube videos. We engage in that part of the world, but I plan in behind the scenes, and I have for as long as I've had children, I've done it for myself for as long as I can remember. I actually consciously plan books that I read, inspirational videos that I watch. I incorporate that and weave that in not only to my solo time, but friend time and family time. And we have to do that. Otherwise, the world will sweep us away into what it wants from us. And so those are the ways, some of the ways in which we can really protect our brains. Okay. And create those new habits, fire together, wire together, create new grooves. And before you know it, it'll be a new habit and it'll be a new ritual and a new tradition for your family at the season. Okay. Spirit, all about making room for joy. So easy when we're kids, right? Heading out, it doesn't snow here, it rains here. I'm hoping we'll get a little snow in Vancouver, Canada for we're in White Rock, BC, but hoping we'll get a little bit of snow. But it's that idea when you're a kid, like it snows, that you head right out and you start throwing snowballs or you start building a fort. And when you have little kids, it's really easy. It's one of my favorite things of having children. I got to become a kid again myself. In fact, I really miss it now that they're older. They're away and they're doing their own thing at university and, at school on an island. I really miss them for that, among many other things. But I missed that because it was an excuse to just be joyful, be curious. And then I realized after they left, I had to do it myself. And I had to figure it out. And Todd and I do it. When it snowed last year, I remember this distinctly, and I actually shot a video of it. We were walking along this beach. We go for walks all the time and wanders. And it was snowing a couple days before, and we had a full blown snowball fight. And it was so much fun. And I just remembered back to my childhood that just having those experiences, laughing, rolling in the snow, the way that you look at the trees, the way that you see the sparkly lights, engage in the spirit of the child within you this season. Make room for joy. So one of the things we do as a Mackie family is we create the Mackie list of love, things that we love. So we sit around as soon as the boys are home this coming week. As soon as they're home, we sit down and we say, okay, what is going to make this season really special for you? And we go around the circle and we talk about, I really want to see the lights in downtown Vancouver. I love that. Or, one of the kids, like, I actually just want to sit. I want to watch a Christmas movie. And I want to have hot chocolate. I wanna go skating. Maybe I wanna go skiing. Maybe, I wanna go for wanders just in the woods. So we go around the circle and each one of us, I wanna play games. Whatever it is. There's lots of different things that come up on the list and they're popping into my mind. But we go around the room, we ask everybody what would make this season special for you, and then we make sure that we hit those things on the list. And we do our very best to do them all because it's about setting aside the time, the focus, the conscious planning for that joy. And it's different for every single one of us. I talked last week on the SoulFull Session about canned peaches, but it's just about a professor of mine that he loved canned peaches. They made him feel like he was getting well when he was sick. And and his wife had served him chicken soup for 10 years. And then she finally asked. And so now he gets, canned peaches. And it's oftentimes we project onto other people what we love. But we want to take the time in the spirit of joy to be able to ask people what they truly love. So hopefully that serves you this season. Okay, now we're moving on to soul. It's a little bit tougher to make time for the rituals of our soul during the season, but we absolutely have to. It all starts there. If we cannot make time for stillness, for lighting a candle, for sitting in front of the Christmas tree, for sitting in front of whatever fireplace you want to make, mine's with candles, whatever it is, sitting in nature, pausing, whatever this is, honestly, we just have to make time for our souls so that we can listen. And I see there's the bathrobe guy. Yeah, it's really fun. I think you were talking about the list that we make, and I encourage you to just do that with your family and friends and then tell me how it went. So when it comes to our souls, it's about listening to that voice within us because this is usually a heightened emotional time. We're with a lot of family members. There's a lot of different personalities in the mix. And so coming from that place of perspective, seeing people for who they really are, seeing their intentions so that we keep the stress to a minimum, honoring ourselves when we need to take a break, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through, we talked lots about it in the last weeks about listening to music, putting your earbud in one ear when you need to be able to just hear that soulful music to keep you grounded in the midst of chaos. I put on I put on my earbuds when I go Christmas shopping so that I just get in that soulful space. And I've got, no matter what's playing in amongst all the noise, I've got my little earbud in listening to my favorite Christmas carols. And so that you take the time to be able to truly take those breaths, spend time with your soul so that you can listen within, and then you will get the answers to what you should do next or how to handle a situation with a loved one. You will be able to hear that voice within you. But if we put off all that soulful time because we're so focused on other people, then we will not have the same degree of love and appreciation and connection that we would if we are tapped into that beautiful, wise voice within us. And thank you for the lovely hearts. I love when I see those little hearts rise up. It's just so beautiful. Thank you so much. And so, whatever that is for you, tapping your soul, listening to music, pouring a cup of tea, look at the sparkly lights with your partner, with your friend, with your children. The more that we live this, for a little side note on any of us that are parents or aunts or mentors to young people at all, young people do not do what we do. They don't, that's totally opposite. Young people do not do what we say. Young people do what we do. And I know that through my own actions, making these things a priority for me, I not only inspire the clients that I have the privilege to work with or the people that I get to do talks with, I get to live my authentic life. And through that authentic living, through that genuine focus on walking my talk, I then inspire our children, and I have seen it now. I didn't know for years as a parent doing these things. Todd and I both homeschooling our boys, having deep conversations, reading with our kids, making these lists, making these things that I talk about a priority in our world. You don't have any idea that it's actually working for your kids until they get older. And now that I see them at 18 and 19, Todd and I look at each other and go, thank goodness we made what we did a priority. And so whether that's for the children around you or the people around you, make these things a priority, whatever those conscious decisions are, so that you can inspire a different world that we will live in. And it's of utmost importance because we need more and more of that in our world, particularly at this time in our life and in our history. Our next one, as I saw those little hearts fly, I thought it's about heart. So heart is about connection with loved ones. It's about connection with friends. It's about connection with strangers. It's every moment of every day, how we bring ourselves in to our place of consciousness, our soulful flow, our love, our conscious, our vigilant observance, our compassionate thinking, our conscious co-creating this world, because we are co-creating this world every single second. Welcome to our new person that joined us. I wish I could say your name. Oh, poet Louise Conce. So I don't know if that's your name, but welcome. I'm so glad we've got lovely people on here today. Welcome. I hope that you can feel, and I certainly do, the energy of all these beautiful people. And I know most of you, so I feel your energy sitting in this room. And so as we move into this heartfelt space for this season, whether it's with loved ones, with those that we care about, whether it's with strangers, every single moment matters. So this season, in the past, first of all, with our boys, we did something called the Mad Hero Project. And so we did Mission Me's and Mission We. And part of that project in the Mission We element of things was contributing to community and doing something, particularly at Christmas, but throughout the whole year. We would run different fundraising initiatives. We would, raise money, or we would buy gifts. We would deliver them at Christmas one year. So we would do something different every season. So at one point, I took the boys shopping for pajamas and we dropped them off at a women's shelter. And the people that ran the women's shelter came out and they talked about why it was so important that we give to women in community. And so with our Mad Hero Project, we often had a lot of kids involved and a lot of parents. And we did this every year. One year we made necklaces and bookmarks. We made packages for making this craft for the sick kids at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. And so we dropped off a whole bunch of them, and then a nurse came out and talked to us about why this was important. And this was for me and for my husband and for our family. It was our way of instilling in our children this idea of giving back in community. So a part of heart, beyond spending beautiful time with our loved ones, and our friends, um, it's also about giving back to community. And so this season, I decided that I would just do something little. I thought, you know what? We haven't had a lot of time. Our boys are away at school. And I just thought, you know what? I'll pull an idea together. I just wanted to find some way to do something small. And so I thought, you know what? We'll give out holiday gift bags, and maybe we'll get a few donations, and we'll just put it out to a few people. And it's kind of last minute. And normally, like, I worked for nonprofits for years, so I know that their campaigns start months in advance. A lot of the nonprofits have, like, basket campaigns, shoebox campaigns that are running for months and months before. But I thought, whatever we can do, whatever community we can engage in, let's just see how it goes. So about a week and a half ago, I put out this call and I said on the internet in our community, and I said, hey, we're going to do holiday cheer gift bags. And we don't know who we're even going to give them to yet. But if you had donations or you wanted to kick in a little financial, gift, we would go shopping for you, or you could drop off gifts at our house and we will put together these gift bags and we will hand them out. Well, I tell you this because I promised myself it would be simple, it would be peaceful, and however it turned out, it would turn out, and I would make it no pressure. Well, I'm going to post a picture in the chat afterwards, on the Soulful Way for you to see. It was unbelievable. So, there's one beautiful woman on here, and I won't call you out. You know who you are. We sat at a Christmas dinner. I said we were doing this idea. Her husband threw down $50 onto the table and said, I'm in. I can't show up because I got a lot going on this season, but here's $50. And this beautiful woman that's on here with us today, e-transferred me as soon as she got home. And she was like, let's just get you started. And I was like, okay, we're doing this. And so we had these contributions and we thought, okay, let's see how it goes. So within a week and a half, I had 10 people. Todd was very helpful. So Todd and I had about 6 people drop off presents to our home, to give away, to put into these gift bags. We did a couple of pickups for, people that were at home when I had a car accident. And she said, I have tons of things for you, but if you could drop by and pick them up, I would. And yet we said, hey, we're going to invite people to our house. It was yesterday. We're going to invite people to our house. And whatever you want to bring to contribute, if you could help to assemble the bags, that would be great. If nobody showed up, we were totally fine. We just said, whoever can show up, show up. We'll just have tea. We'll have tea and coffee, cookies and treats and stuff. And you can come by and let's see what happens. Well, if I could turn the camera right now, our entire dining room is filled with gift bags. It was unbelievable. So these people showed up. They not only dropped off gifts at our home, we went to the Buy Nothing site where we live, and we said we would like gently used toys or little toiletry products or clothes or whatever you want to do. I didn't have any parameters. I just trusted the process. And people dropped off all these beautiful things. And 4 people plus Todd and I showed up yesterday, and we had an assembly line of gifts. There were gifts all over on the dining room table, on the floor, on the stairs. We had an assembly line going through our little island kitchen. We have a townhouse and it's quite small. And the whole thing, our entire living room, we sorted it all out based on ages. Our entire living room floor was filled with presents. And I will post pictures in the chat. I'd love to share it with you. The reason why I share that with you is it was simple. It was peaceful. Whoever showed up, showed up. Even if we had 5 bags, I thought, you know what? I just have this little goal in my mind that we'll have 33 bags and we'll figure out who we're going to give them to. And I got in touch with a couple of nonprofits that have been recommended to me, and they didn't call me back. I understand. It's a busy time of year. There's all kinds of parameters when you work for a nonprofit. I know that from working them and running them. And so we're going to actually give them away on this Buy Nothing site, and people are just going to be able to put comments out and come and pick up a Christmas bag or two, for people that just could use a little extra love this season or need a little love this season. And so the reason why I mentioned that is it was just a little soulful spark of a thought in my mind that popped in, and I just ran with it. And I could never have done it alone. My husband was a full-on, yes, whatever we can do. The people from the community showed up and gave the gifts. People showed up with like literally a carload of gifts, came and helped with the bags. We had a little assembly line going. We had Christmas tunes going. It does not need to be intense. Even if you gave little Christmas cards out on the street, even if you found a little, library cupboard and dropped off a few books or a few Christmas cards or a few treats, whatever it is this season, find a little something to give back of your heart. And I'm sure many of you are already doing this, but we cannot have enough love. And sometimes we hold back from doing it. And I certainly have in the past when I go, I don't have a lot of time to put into a big project. And so we don't. So make it simple, make it small, whatever it is, we need a lot more love and there's never enough of it. So we give it out. All right. So we're almost at our time. Couple really cool things I want to share with you. So, when we feel like we have got body, brain, soul, spirit, heart, we've considered all those elements of ourself. Maybe we're giving a little more to one area, a little less to the other because we can't do all things all the time, but we're trying our best to just balance these things and we're really listening from within what we need. There is a unifying, which is our theme, unifying all these different aspects of ourselves. But then there's a unification that happens on a wild, soulful source level. Whether you come from the science perspective of connection to that space between, or all you need is love, love, love. I hear you, sister. Thanks, Gail. It is true. So we feel that connection when we're in tune, when we are in vibe, soul vibe with these 5 facets and faces of we, and we are honoring all our parts as we live on this mortal coil. When we're doing that, we actually tap into source, whatever that energy is, whether that's a religious element for you, whether it's a spiritual element for you, whether it's metaphysical, whatever it is. So something really crazy cool happened. I was thinking 3 nights ago about this talk and what could I do that would really, really offer. I always, my little thought that I say, my little mantra is, how may I serve? What could I say about these aspects that would really serve you? And when I went to sleep, I had a dream. And a client of mine sent me a text and she had this word that she had typed and said, I'm focused on this word. This is a word that I feel would really serve you to serve others. And in the dream, I could see it. And it was a word, it was a Latin word that I did not, it was actually a Greek word that I had never heard of or didn't know the context of. And so the word on the text was agape. And I woke up thinking, I don't want to forget that word. I know that was a special message. I need to figure out what that means because I've heard it, but I don't really know what it means. So in the dream, a word came that I did not know the meaning for. And up comes agape. So when I looked it up, it's self-love, it's self-compassion. And I thought that's wild, but I thought it meant unity because I was like, it must fit in with this unifying thing we got going on. And so then when I looked up and I actually pumped it into ChatGPT because I use it every once in a while for that research element of things. So I said, okay, what does this word mean? And knowing my work, where does this fit in? And it said, actually, so agape is you consciously loving yourself, that self-compassion, which is where this starts from. And there's all these areas, these 5 areas of our life. We have to have self-compassion to be able to notice and recognize and flow within and listen to that wisdom within us. And then the word that popped up was about henosis. And henosis is that unity and connection to conscious love, that source. So I don't know if you're as blown away as I am, but I love it when the universe shows up and brings everything together and wraps it with a big old bow. And so I wake up from this dream and I'm like, okay, agape, and how does that fall? And then it was this henosis. And I encourage you to look up these words. So the connection and the tie-in with self-love, with that conscious self-love. And then when we have that conscious self-love, the unity goes beyond unifying just those 5 aspects of us. It actually unifies us with this mystical source, with this mystical love, with this connection between all of us, that golden thread. that golden thread between all of our hearts, all of our minds, all of our bodies, all of our spirits, all of our souls happening right here, right now. And that will ripple out through everything that you do, not only today, through this season, but forever and ever. Beautiful validation. Beautiful. Thank you, Luna. So we come to a close for today. Thank you so much for taking your hottest commodity, which is your time, to be here today. I am loving these soulful sessions. I hope you are too. I hope you spread the word. Please tell anybody and everybody you can get your hands on. I will have, we can't have enough of these conversations. I record it. It will be in different snippets. And then, so you'll be able to little clips that you can send out or share just to share on the love. Our theme for next week, we're moving along with the soulful vibe. So vibe is where we're moving into next week. So soul has been all about stillness and calm and connection, feeling, listening and openness. And now we're moving to the vibe portion of things. So next week, we're going to talk about venerate, which is to honor that muse. And we're going to do I too, which is to initiate. So what do we do to initiate the honoring of these different elements of us, these 5 facets of we and beyond? So I just thank you for the love. We love you. Jesus asked Peter twice. The third time he asked you, agape me. Oh, that's beautiful, Steve. The bathrobe guy just had a beautiful little thought there about agape. Wow. I just thank you so much for sharing. So I am holding all of you in heart and space and body and mind and spirit this next week. Thank you so much. I really look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Tuesday, the new newsletter comes out for the Soulful Way. So it's got a deeper dive. So if you're kind of treating this like a program, like a workshop, then the newsletter on Tuesday sets the tone. And if you read through the newsletter, it's all about deepening our processes and our practices and our rituals and our thought patterns. And so if you read on Tuesday through, then you kind of come on Sunday prepared, and then you kind of deepen your practice. So if that speaks to you, great. If you just show up for the Soulful Sessions, that's wonderful. And if you just share it on, that's beautiful too. If you're looking for an awesome Christmas present, I will say my husband said, please remember to mention the book, Jenny. So I'm doing it, Todd. Just one soulful thing. This is a simple adventure in reclaiming your wild wisdom. Logan has read it. I'm sure, I think a couple of others I know Gail has read it, and just been so supportive, by the way, to both of you for your beautiful, Logan, for your wonderful review, and just for those of you sharing it on. I appreciate it. But really, it's about you. So if this kind of work speaks to you, then this is read it, love it. Thank you, Gail. This was from my soul out into the world. It's not the book I thought I would write first. I've written a lot in my lifetime, but this is the first kind of full book. It's a simple adventure. I'm actually doing a guided journal that's coming out in January that I'll be talking about on the Soulful Sessions. It'll be coming out for probably February. We're thinking about, the month of love. So the guided journal experience of this. But even if you get the book, it's on Amazon all over Europe, Canada, the US. But if you get the book, it's a deeper dive in for you. And it's really about you unleashing that beautiful wisdom and soulful way. So goodbye. Love this. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for popping in, my beautiful bathrobe guy. Just love you, Steve. Meta to you as well. Lots of love, everyone. Have a beautiful week. Enjoy your sparkly 5 facets a week. Take care of you, and we'll see you next time. Mwah. Lots of love. Bye, guys.